The Commander class has gotten a lot of people excited. We got characters like Jetfire and Skylinks that are meant to be big characters, not meant to be Voyagers or leader classes. The Combiner Wars Skylinks, people were happy to get, but now that we're getting this Earthrise one, people don't really know what to do with that. People didn't really care about the Combiner part, and yeah, the leader class Combiner Wars Jetfire was very good, but now we got a more G1 styled Jetfire that's bigger. But after Earthrise, what's the next Commander class figure gonna be? Well, I have a couple ideas, and I'm gonna start from my lowest, least likely, to the most likely that I think. Now, something I want to point out is I personally think that they're gonna do a Decepticon, Commander class figure. I really hope it's a Decepticon because what sucks is good guy toys sell more than bad guy toys, but it's whatever. So I guess let's go on to... So, for number 7, I am putting Monstruktur. So, why do I put Monstruktur at number 7? Well, I personally think that they would probably make him a Titan class figure, just because he's a combiner like Devastator and is not going to be in a Combiner Wars set, but I like to hope they would make him in a Commander class, since the Commander class figures are about the size of a Combiner. If you put it, I'll show on screen. Here is Jetfire with my Bruticus and Superion. As you can see, they are practically the same size. I think they could easily make a cool looking Monstruktur figure, maybe remold a figure, I don't know. I would personally like if they did, but honestly, this seems unlikely. Like I said, I think they'll probably save this for some kind of Titan class figure or a a Generation Selects, but I would personally like if they made a Monstruktur eventually. But that's kind of it for Monstruktur, so let's go to number 6. So, for number 6, I am putting Star Saber. Now, a lot of people really want a Star Saber figure. I do too. I think he could be made into a figure, and some people think it should be a Commander class figure. I disagree. Mainly because, he is... I feel like he's more of a leader class figure. He perfectly fit the Evolutions gimmick of Power of the Primes, and I think they're kind of going to do what they did with Siege Ultra Magnus. So I feel like we could get a Star Saber figure, but not as a Commander class figure. For some reason, a lot of people want him to be really big, which I could get, but personally, I don't think that would really happen. And for number 5, I am putting Deathsora. Now, like Star Saber, I think we will get a Deathsora figure. Jesus, I had a big lisp. I think we could get a Deathsora figure, along with Star Saber, but I don't think he's meant to be a Commander class. I think he'll be a leader class, as I mentioned in one of my past top 10 videos, a remold of the Double Dealer figure. But, honestly, I really, really want a Deathsora figure. He is super cool. I do want to get the Leo Kaiser figure, even though it's not fully accurate, but Deathsora is a very cool character that I want to see, but not as a Commander class. I think a Commander class is meant to be someone who is big in general. So, let's get to the real characters that are very big. And for number 4, I am putting Grandis. Now, if you don't know who Grandis is, he is a Micromaster base for the Transformers Zone toy line, I think. Well, anyway, he's a Japanese Transformer, and I think he could definitely fit the Commander class size class. I feel like he could either be Commander class or Leader class, but personally I would be rooting for Commander because he seems like a bigger character. Now, I feel like he could definitely have a lot of the Micromaster base incorporations in it, similar to what they did to Skylinks. But the only problem is I feel like he is not as recognizable as a character. He is very blocky, but I feel like they could do a lot with it and make him into a city. Maybe they could even make him into a Titan. But I think it's more likely for him to have a smaller class figure like the Commander class or the Leader class. So that's why I put him lower on the list, even though I do hope we get a Grandis figure eventually. But that's all for Grandis. Let's go to number 3. And for number 3, I put Broadside. Now, if you guys know, Broadside is a big guy. He turns into a aircraft base. I think that's what that is. So we got a Broadside figure in the Titans Return toy line, and it's a bit not the best. It has its problems, but it's not an awful figure. But I feel like with a Commander class size and presence, that could definitely fix the problems with that figure. It doesn't rely on the Headmaster gimmick. It could play with Micromasters again, like the other figure. Like the other figure that was on this list. I feel like you also need to think about how can you incorporate Micromasters and the ramps and all that stuff. So I think this figure and what's his name? Grandis could definitely be incorporated with Micromasters. Now, I do really want a Commander class Broadside, but the only problem is I feel like the next Commander class figure will be a Decepticon. And honestly, I want a Commander class Decepticon. Yes, that Skylinks looks awesome, and yes, Jetfire could be a Decepticon, which I have him as on my shelf. But I feel like we need a Commander class Decepticon as its own thing, and not as a repaint. I do think Broadside would be a cool addition, and a good addition to complete the Wreckers, because I don't think that Broadside for Titans Return was popular. I think there was a lot of problems and people didn't really love it. So I think Commander class could fix that figure. But let's go on to number 2. So for number 2, it was very hard to decide where I was going to put this. I do think this figure has a good chance, but for a very particular reason, he is up here. So for number 2, I put Thunderwing. Now, if you guys don't know who Thunderwing is, he is a Pretender-style Transformer that, in the original IDW comics, became a giant monster figure guy. So I feel like, due to the size of this figure in the original IDW comics, he could become that. And he did get a figure in the past, but I think it's likely to do that because I think they'd probably do like the Evolutions gimmick, some kind of chest transformation in this figure. So you would get a tiny Thunderwing, similar to the G1 figure, that turns into a chest or goes inside of the giant Thunderwing. Would definitely love a Thunderwing figure, but there's one thing holding it back from being number 1. So like I mentioned, deciding what figure to put in this was very difficult. But I had to look back on what Hasbro has been doing. So for the original Jetfire figure, it was meant for playability with deluxes. But then you gotta look at Skylinks, the Micromaster incorporation for it. So I think, originally I thought Thunderwing was going to be number 1, but I am pretty sure that the next Commander class figure could be Tidal Wave. Now, when you think about Tidal Wave, similar to Broadside, he is an aircraft carrier base and breaks apart. So you know that's possible because of what they did with Skylinks. But let's not really look at that. They could definitely incorporate a lot of Micromaster type elements to this Titan class figure. And I do think this guy could be a Titan class figure. I do have the original Tidal Wave. And I honestly think it's a fine figure. But it could use an update with some new engineering and maybe even be one part, who knows. But I do think number one could be Tidal Wave. As much as I want other figures, I do think the next one will be a Decepticon, and it could either be Thunderwing or Tidal Wave. But Thunderwing, I don't know how they can incorporate Micromaster elements. That is the big problem with putting Thunderwing or someone like that. I feel like Grandis has more of a chance since you could incorporate Micromaster panels. Anyway, I hope you all kind of agree with me. If you have an idea what you think could be a possible figure to put in a commander class, put it in the comments. I'm interested to see what you guys think. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye, guys.